Today we are going to deal with the poem A Child Said, What is the Grass by Walt Whitman. Now, first we take up the life of Walt Whitman. So, Walt Whitman was born on May 31, 1819, and he passed away on March 26, 1892. He grew up in Brooklyn and received limited formal education. He was an American poet, essayist, and journalist. He was a humanist and was a part of the transition between transcendentalism and realism. Whitman is among the most influential poets in the American canon, often called the father of free verse. His work was controversial in its time, particularly his poetry collection Leaves of Grass, which was inspired by his travels across the American frontier and his admiration for immersion. In Leaves of Grass, that was published in 1855, he celebrated democracy, nature, love, and friendship. This monumental work chanted praises to the body as well as to the soul and founded beauty and reassurance even in death. This important publication underwent 8 subsequent editions during his lifetime, as Whitman expanded and revised the poetry and added more to the original collection of 12 poems. Emerson himself declared the first edition was the most extraordinary piece of wit and wisdom that America has yet contributed. Along with Emily Dickinson, Whitman is regarded as one of America's most significant 19th century poets. Now, this collection we were talking about, Leaves of Grass, the name itself is supposed to be a pun. Grass was a term given by publishers to works of minor value, and leaves is another name for the pages on which they were printed. Whitman sent a copy of the first edition of Leaves of Grass to Emerson, who had actually inspired its creation. Now, the poem which we are going to take today, A Child Said, What is the Grass? Now, it is very good to see that something as mundane as grass is being made the theme of a poem, which seems very extraordinary and unusual. He takes this seemingly inconsequential object and imbues it with meaning, making it a symbol for the human condition. By doing this, he challenges his readers to take a moment to think about the world around us. Just like children learning about nature for the first time question about everything. A grass is an ignored and underrated vegetation, and nobody even thinks about grass. But the poet has given this grass such parallels that it comes to closely expound the human conditions. The striking contrast that lies between the grass and so many materialistic things and the human body itself makes one believe that grass is so closely linked with mankind. Now, coming to the poem, Para 1, a child said, What is the grass? Fetching it to me with full hands. How could I answer the child? I do not know what it is any more than he. So a child came with a handful of grass to the poet and asked, What is this? And the poet says he could not answer the child because he did not know the answer, just as the child did not know it. I guess it must be the flag of my disposition. He says maybe it is a symbol of my spirit, out of hopeful green stuff woven. Now, green is a symbol of hope also, just as it is a symbol of prosperity. So he says it may be a flag of my spirit, and that flag has been woven. The material out of which it has been woven is green in color. Or I guess it is a handkerchief of the Lord, a scented gift and remembrancer designedly dropped, bearing the owner's name somewhere in the corners that we may see and remark and say whose. So he says, number 1, it could be the flag of his disposition. Number 2, it could be the handkerchief of God himself, which he had purposely dropped on earth and with a small initial at one of the corners of the handkerchief, so that when we picked it up and saw the initial, we would ask, whose handkerchief is this? Whose creation is this, basically? Now, the second paragraph, para 2, or I guess the grass is itself a child, the produced babe of the vegetation. Now, as he said, the poet does not know the answers. That is why we find the use of these words like I guess. So he says maybe it is the child of vegetation itself. Vegetation has produced it. Or I guess it is a uniform hieroglyphic, and it means sprouting alike in broad zones and narrow zones, growing among black folks as among white. So he says maybe it is the child of vegetation. Maybe it is something like a uniform hieroglyphic. Now, what is hieroglyphic? Hieroglyphic is basically writing in symbols. So he says maybe it is a writing in symbols which means sprouting alike in broad zones and narrow zones. The grass does not differentiate that it will grow only in broad zones and it will refuse to grow in the narrow zones. It grows in all the zones alike. It grows among black people as it grows among white people. It does not differentiate between Canuck, Takaho, Congressman, Cuff. I give them the same, I receive them the same. So here we see the democratic element in the poet, and he tries to tell us that everybody is equal, regardless of the color of the skin, regardless of what belief you have, regardless of the place you come from. Canuck is actually a slang term that is used for a Canadian. Takaho again is a village in New York. And Congressman obviously refers to a member of the US House of Representatives. So this way he says he does not differentiate between different kinds of people, just like the grass does not differentiate. And now it seems to me the beautiful uncut hair of graves. And then he says that the grass seems to me a hair coming, a bunch of hair coming out of the graves. And he says that it is a beautiful bunch of hair. Now, uniform hieroglyph, when we talk about that, it is something that can unite people regardless of race, occupation, or social status. If the grass is a uniform hieroglyph, it is something that will lead to uniting people. He reminds his reader that nature connects all human beings and the divisions between us are superficial. The line, I give them the same, I receive them the same, represents Whitman's recommendation that human beings take a cue from the grass and treat one another equally. Traces of the democratic ideals that resonate throughout Whitman's poetry, where in this particular paragraph talking of uniform hieroglyph, it actually talks about uniting regardless of race, occupation, and social status. Para 3. Tenderly will I use you, curling grass. It may be you transpire from the breasts of young men. Now see, when we talk about the previous paragraphs, we had seen the use of I guess. Here it is maybe. Again, something which is not sure. It may be you transpire from the breasts of young men. He says maybe you grasses are rising out from the breasts of young men who lie buried underneath. It may be you are from old people or from offspring taken. He says maybe you are coming out from the chests of old people or maybe small children who have been buried. It may be if I had known them, I would have loved them soon out of their mother's laps. And here you are, the mother's laps. He says, if I had known these children, maybe I would have loved them. These children had been taken away so soon from their mother's laps. And that replacement of the mother's laps is today being provided by Mother Nature. So, he says, if I had known that exactly from where you are rising, then I would have used you very tenderly. Now, it may have come from the breast of young men whom he might have loved. It may have grown out of the remains of old people, women or children who died too young. He remarks that the grass is very dark to have come from the white hair of old mothers or the colorless beards of old men. This is something we are going to see in the next paragraph. This grass is very dark to be from the white heads of old mothers. He says it is so dark in color, it cannot have come out of the white hairs of old mothers, darker than the colorless beards of old men. He says even the colorless beards of old men could not have produced this green grass. Dark to come from under the faint red roofs of mouths. People who are very old, the inside of their mouths are not all that red, they become faint. Or I perceive after all so many unuttering tongues, and I perceive they do not come from the roofs of mouths for nothing. He says these are what? The grasses are uttering tongues. They are speaking on behalf of these people who have died and who lie buried under it. And I perceive they do not come from the roofs of mouths for nothing. These grasses, when they are coming out of the mouth of people, they are trying to say something. I wish I could translate the hints about the dead young men and women, and the hints about old men and mothers and the offspring taken soon out of their laps. He says, I wish I could just translate the language of the grass. What does it want to say about all these people who have died and are buried under it? And when he talks about the young men, remember he's always talking about those people who have died in the wars, and he had a lot of sympathy for these people who had been taken away from their families so young, and we had to be sacrificed for the sake of the country. So he talks about the dead young men constantly, we find, and the hints about the old men and mothers and the offspring taken soon out of their laps. Even this may refer to the children, the young boys who had been sacrificed in the war. What do you think has become of the young and old men? He asks a question now. Now, in the beginning, the child asked him a question. Here in para 5, he asks us a question. What do you think has become of the young and old men? And what do you think has become of the women and children? So he says, what must have become of these young and old men, the women and the children who lie buried? He answers also, they are alive and well somewhere. So first he asks for the reader's opinion on what happened to these men, women and children, but then answers his own question. He decides that they are alive and well somewhere. The sprouts of the grass indicate that death is not permanent because it leads to a new life. He then concludes that death is different and much luckier than he had previously believed. And we see the next paragraph. The smallest sprout shows there is really no death. He says the smallest grass tells us that like grass never dies, men also never die. And if ever there was, it led forward life and does not wait at the end to arrest it. And he says that always, if death is there, it just leads forward to another life and does not wait at the end to arrest it. At the end of life, when death finally comes, it does not stop life. It is just leading forward. It leads forward to another life somewhere else and seized the moment life appeared. So the moment life actually came, death did not come and seize it. Death actually was there. It's almost like a comma somewhere waiting at the end of life to take us to the other life. All goes onward and outward. Nothing collapses. He says everything in this world keeps on moving forward and outward. Nothing collapses. Nothing comes to an end. And to die is different from what anyone supposed and luckier. He says it is luckier to die. People consider it to be a big sadness or misfortune. It's not so. He says it's lucky and it is different than what we understood till now. Now we find the use of I guess and it seems, which suggests that the speaker is describing the different answers as they enter his mind rather than forming one complete and thorough assessment. Now this is what is known as the stream of consciousness style of writing, that he keeps on uttering things just as they enter his mind. Though the majority of the poem is made up of these possible ways to define the grass, the third to last stanza contains the speaker's own question, what has become of the dead buried in the ground? In the following two stanzas again, you find he answers this question himself, I guess or it seems, which suggests that the speaker is describing the different answers as they enter his mind rather than forming one complete and thorough assessment. Now Whitman likens the short season of the growth of grass to the lifespan of a human, which at first may seem ridiculous. Now this is a major theme in this poem, but when it becomes clear he is invoking a relationship to the war dead, those men who die young on the battlefield, then this metaphor makes much more sense. In other words, the short lifespan of grass, being but a season, is being compared to the short life of the soldier who dies too young. The repeated mention of young men and mothers and the image of young men being taken from their mothers, offspring taken soon out of their mother's laps, echoes this theme as well. Another theme you find here is that of death. Death being a major part of life and nature, Whitman showcases his belief that death marks a beginning rather than an ending. The grass grows, dies, and is reborn in a constant cycle, and Whitman believes that human life is the same. Now, if you want to know about the rhyme scheme, this poem has no rhyme scheme, because it is made up of stanzas of different length written in the stream of consciousness style. As I said, the undisciplined structure supports the concept of this poem, in which the speaker struggles to respond to a child's innocent question, what is the grass? If you have any questions based on this poem, you may leave it in the segment given below and I shall answer them. Thank you.